Super. All right. So I'll just start with just introducing who we are. Essentially, For the Love of Dogs Academy is a not-for-profit organization. What that means is that it's not managed like a business. So there's not an owner, there's not kind of dividends or profits or anything like that. So not-for-profit obviously is descriptive. You can't make a profit. And rather than one person making decisions on the direction that the organization will take, it's actually a board making those decisions. So that means that you get a bit of a balance of perspectives. It also means that decision making is slower. One of the main things with charities is that everything just has to be completely transparent and above board. So everything takes just a little bit longer in terms of making sure that we're documenting everything, ticking all the boxes, and meeting all our regulatory requirements. Now, the reason for that, obviously, with a charity is that in some cases, charities are working with donated money, and we need to be held accountable for spending that in a way that is not wasting it, essentially. Um, and in other situations, if the charity is earning revenue and making money from a sort of business side, and this is sort of how we've transitioned in running the doggy daycare, we will be running it as a business and using those proceeds to fund the education of our participants and our programs. So we need to be sort of regulated, we need to be watched on that, and that will all be reported to the ACNC, the governing body that looks after charities. If you've got any questions about the charity itself, there's actually heaps of info on our website, thanks to Trish, who works behind the scenes in the administrative aspects of the charity. That's got heaps of info on it, and we've just recently added For the Love of Dogs programs to it, in addition to the For the Love of Dogs people programs. So if you're a dog owner, go to the dogs part. If you're interested in the disability programs, go to the people part, and there's just a heap more background information on there. All our contact details are on the slide here, and I'll pop them up again at the end in case you think of questions that you don't want to ask in front of everybody else. So how did we end up here? Essentially, because dogs are amazing. So we are getting a lot of data and studies done over the last 10 years, which are showing the benefits of dogs on human health. So in the US, dog ownership saves the US healthcare system $22.7 billion a year in the health benefits that it creates. Now, there's so much work on dog ownership. There's less work on interactions with dogs rather than actually owning them. But what we do know about interacting with dogs is that it has huge social benefits. So particularly for people who are experiencing social isolation due to chronic illness, mental illness, living rurally, so many different factors. We know, and we've all experienced that walking a dog is pretty amazing. You bump into people, they say, "Oh, I used to own a dog like that. Oh, what's your dog's name?" And it starts a conversation that you wouldn't otherwise have had. And that can sometimes be the only social interactions that somebody has, particularly when they're not feeling up to really starting a conversation themselves. And it can really change a person's day. There's physical health benefits that are quite obvious. Walking a dog decreases obesity and all of the health problems that come with obesity. But in addition to that, the act of patting an animal, a cat or a dog, decreases your blood pressure, decreases your heart rate, and decreases your cortisol level. Cortisol is a stress hormone. So the physical benefits of decreasing your stress levels and then the impact that that has on your health, as well as the obesity benefits of exercising. So even if you have an old dog that doesn't want to walk anymore, you're still getting health benefits from hanging out with them. There's huge mental health benefits. So people who interact with dogs regularly have reductions in anxiety scores, reductions in reported depression, and the word is really strange, but increases in positive affect. So basically improved mood in general. These are actually amplified in people living with disability, and particularly in rehabilitation programs when we integrate dogs into physical rehabilitation programs or physical therapy programs. people are more likely to meet their task outcomes earlier if there's a dog in the room, which is interesting. So they want to walk towards the dog to pat the dog, essentially, and they will achieve that task earlier. Um, and then academic performance is actually improved if you put a dog in a classroom from kindy right through to university. The academic outcome in that classroom will be improved. So, in my opinion, everyone should have a dog and dogs should be everywhere. So what is the problem? There's a lot of people who could really benefit from dog ownership who can't access dog ownership. They've got higher costs of living, they're living with chronic illness, they might have physical barriers to being able to walk dogs or look after dogs. So there's these barriers to pet ownership. There might be housing issues as well, in particularly our disabled communities. So if they can't own a dog, why can't they work with a dog and get these same benefits? And unfortunately, the animal care sectors have the lowest rates of disability inclusion of any industry. So there's very little data in Australia, but in one survey, 7.4% of people employed in the vet sector reported disability, relative to almost double in other sectors. So it's pretty much half the inclusion rate of what other sectors reported, which is not really good enough because there's so many people who are living with a disability who can do these jobs just as well, and in my experience, a lot better than some of the people that are already working in these sectors. So, the other barrier that people have to going out and getting the training is that you need to be enrolled, or you need to have volunteer work or employment in an animal care setting to pursue TAFE certifications. So you can't do the formal training to get the job without getting the job first, and you can't get the job because you have a disability, and the sector is just not inclusive of people with disabilities. So it's a little bit of a conundrum that there's problems that we can't really solve with the current systems. Any questions on that? I like to go, this is the stuff I find this so interesting, so I go into a lot of detail, but please tell me if you want me to hurry along. So what are we doing about it? So For the Love of Dogs Academy is, as I said, a not-for-profit with the mission of making the healing power of dogs accessible to everyone. So to do that, we've put together a board that essentially service all of our stakeholders and give us the perspective that we need to be able to, in a safe way, provide training for animal care sector employment, and also just to provide experiences which facilitate people being able to spend time with dogs, even if they don't want a job in the field. So I'm going to run through our board just quickly. So Scott here is very senior operations executive with he's worked with a number of organisations, works in consulting and transformation at the moment. He's been incredible on our operational side of things in getting our programs designed in ways that are going to maximise our efficiency. Alicia Kennedy is a vet who runs a charity called Cherish Pets down in Victoria, and they provide veterinary care to socially isolated members of the community, the elderly living in nursing homes, people experiencing homelessness, and other members who are having a difficult time. She's got a lot of experience in fundraising in this space, and essentially not-for-profit governance regulation. Jess has a bunch of disability background experience, so board experience, in addition to working in a social enterprise. So she was acting CEO at Higher Up, if anybody's familiar with that organisation, the organisation that match disability workers with service users, and really revolutionised people being able to choose their own service providers. And she worked there for a number of years. She's been very helpful in making sure that our disability programs are appropriate and actually going to have the impact we're proposing they're going to have. Ralph's our finance guy, so financial background, and provides all of the kind of checks and balances, make sure that we're financially sustainable in everything that we do. And Jenny is our canine consultant, I guess. So Jenny's a GP vet that works locally, but she's also on the board of the local emergency service. So we've got a lot of board experience as well. She's the chair of the board there. But she's got a special interest in behaviour, and she's really valuable in terms of making sure that the dogs we're including in our programs are appropriate for our participants to be working with. And then I'm going to talk about myself, and I'm going to cringe while I do it. But my background is I'm a vet as well, and I'm actually a specialist vet. Um, does anyone know what that is? I know Anthony knows what that is. Um, so specialist vet, essentially, we do a bit more training after we graduate from uni, a set of exams, and essentially work by referral on a very narrow area of veterinary science. So my specialty is internal medicine. And what that means is that we see the cases that are valuable. So we're more expensive. The equipment that we utilize, the training that we've had, increases the cost. And that means that we work with police dogs that might have had 80 grand put into their training, and there's a business case for needing that kind of next level of treatment to get them through whatever they're experiencing, get them back to working. But then the other population of dogs that we work, dogs and cats, I should say, that we work with are the really valuable pets that are valuable for emotional reasons. And in this position for the last 10 years, I've spent countless hours crying on the floor of consult rooms with clients who are telling me these stories of how valuable their dog is to them or how valuable their cat is to them because of it supported them through a natural disaster when their house burnt down. It supported them through chemo. It's helped them with chronic illness. It helped them make a recovery from mental illness. Helped them through a crisis. Just countless stories of the value of pets in people's lives. And it really did bring home to me that there's so many members of our community that need pets and access to pets that would have all of these benefits that just can't get there without support. So we've designed these programs. Or you got any questions about me or a board? No. So we've designed some programs that really are going to provide both the social outcomes of exposure to pets and also the employment training that I alluded to. On the left-hand side are our programs with social outcomes, pat and chat and wag and walk. And on the right-hand side are our programs with employment outcomes. So our participants will come to us and tell us what they're interested in, what sort of outcomes they're interested in, and we'll work with them to find the best programs for them, and get them started. So our social programs, the idea is that people have the opportunity to engage in activities that they would otherwise be engaged in. So there might be fitness classes, art workshops, music workshops, movie nights, things like that, but in an environment where we can pop some dogs in that they can kind of choose to interact with if they want to, but a very low pressure situation. Provide some social interactions for people who otherwise might be a little bit marginalized. And dogs just provide this conduit, don't they, for those social interactions. So, the dog does something funny and you can laugh with someone about it and you get that sense of community and belonging because the dog provided it. Or otherwise, what are you going to talk to them about? I don't know. I don't know you. When we were consulting with our disability consultants, they sort of mentioned that it's good to provide social interaction opportunities, but that's in a confined space and it requires people to come to the centre to engage in that program, where actually what might be really beneficial is a program that's actually based in the community where people can actually interact with their local community and people that they can then continue the relationship with outside of the program, which is where the Wag and Walk program came from, where our support workers and dog experts pair with people with disabilities and provide walking and canine services out in the community together. And then once our participants are sort of trained up, if they're interested in providing those services ongoing, they can continue the relationship with the people that they've established the relationship with. Any questions on those ones? No? So as far as for Canine Kindergarten users, Pat and Chat would be the program that would be some dogs will be participating in. And I'll go into how we're going to sort of select dogs and things in more detail towards the end. So I don't want you to sort of think that your dog's just going to be enrolled automatically in these programs. Okay, so the first program with employment outcomes has people with disabilities supported through a certificate 2 in animal care. This is a TAFE certification. It's one of those ones that they need to be enrolled or signed up for either volunteer work or employed in animal care sector before they can do the course. But this is really basic animal handling safety training and an exploration of what job opportunities there are available. We've taken that syllabus and paired it up with employment skills training so that a lot of our participants are coming either straight out of school or going into employment for the first time. So we run through what does a roster look like, what's punctuality, what's reliability. Let's all sort of talk about what are the requirements of participating in a workplace in a really healthy way, what's acceptable ways of you being treated, what's acceptable ways of you treating other people, all of those skills that may not have our participants may not have been exposed to throughout their schooling and things. And once they graduate, they've got the option of participating in supported sort of internship programs within doggy daycare, grooming, dog washing, and potentially training programs where they can then kind of expand on those skills if they want to pursue work opportunities in those fields. If they graduate from their certificate 2 and think, I really, really, really liked the veterinary environment, they can then go on and be supported through a certificate 4, which essentially sets them up to work as a vet nurse at the end and work in roles such as kennel hand, animal attendant, and then through to vet nurse in our veterinary community. So something that I didn't mention about myself is what I do when I'm not doing the charity, and that is run a veterinary consultancy business. So I'm not sitting in consult rooms crying with clients anymore. I actually consult with vets now and help them with patients that they're kind of just at the end of what they can provide in their clinics. And then we just help them to kind of reach a diagnosis by doing the additional round of tests and getting to the bottom of it, make some recommendations. That means that I consult with 65 clinics and a lot of animal care services in the mix. So we've got really good relationships and opportunities to place people in either work experience or employment opportunities. So then we've got a couple of other beneficiaries for our programs, right? So the pet owners are going to benefit. So the graduates from our animal advocate program will be able to provide more training, more dog walks and things, more interactions for dogs in the community. And the dogs that come to the doggy daycare will have had an opportunity to spend time with a sort of a wider population of people. And some of our participants do have unusual movement patterns and things that sometimes can frighten dogs. And that being involved in that environment is often desensitizes dogs to those alternate movement patterns, people who are built differently, people who like to wear hats and things like that, all of which dogs can become quite reactive to if they're really set in their ways and not exposed to a diverse range of people. This gives the dogs an opportunity to accommodate the wider population that we live with, our communities. The other opportunity here is that we can help facilitate pet ownership for other community members who are struggling with it. So the elderly, other people with disabilities and things, we can help, we can go over it, provide medication, provide walk, provide baths, and all of the social benefits that come with those kind of bonds that develop over dogs. The animal care sector will also benefit. There's a lot of things wrong with the animal care sector. We're all running at 1,000,000 miles an hour at the moment. Providing extra pairs of hands will be really helpful, particularly when those hands are, the objective is that they're there to decrease anxiety in the pets. So having someone, and we take people for work experience with us in my consultancy business, and the participants are there to decrease anxiety in dogs we're doing ultrasounds on. And giving the dogs a pat, talking to them, we really see that the dogs are much more still, much more calm throughout the scans that they're having, which really benefits both the dogs the people working in the clinic and also our participants. So everybody's winning. Um, we will also improve diversity and inclusion in animal care industries. And what we're seeing is that all of us are struggling with the pace and picking up dogs and having to kind of do everything for everyone. And it will really benefit animal care sector to be kind of forced to have a look at the roles and say, okay, well, this could be done by two people, or we could split this role in half, and I'm actually not feeling up to doing that today. How about you do this element of the job and I'll do this element of the job? And those conversations will really, I think, liberate a lot of people who are already working in the sector to say, well, my back's sore actually as well. This would really help me too. And we kind of solve for people with disabilities because they know what accommodations they need, but we solve for the rest of the industry too. Is there So I know Anthony and Brooke both veterinary industry background. Is anybody else? No. So where does doggy daycare come in? Where does Canine Kindergarten come in? What we've been doing to date is work experience, essentially one-off days because we haven't had a really regular supply of dogs to run our training programs with. And we haven't had a really stable facility where we could provide the certificate two goes for 12 to 18 months. And the last thing we want to do is start our participants in a supported program and then pull that support out from under them when they've already enrolled. Um, so Maxine, Peter knows Maxine, obviously. This is the most responsibly run doggy daycare I've ever come across, and I've come across a lot. The qualifications of the team here in terms of the understanding of dog behavior is unparalleled. Most doggy daycares are running from people with very dog lovers, but without any formal training in understanding and reading dog behavior. They literally drop a container of treats on the ground in this doggy daycare and then they say on your mat and 40 dogs go and get on their mats rather than hustling and bustling over the treats and causing fights. So to have that degree of control over that many dogs, this is an environment that's incredible opportunity for people who are just entering into that work experience space working with dogs to be with a group of people who can say, you're making that dog nervous. How about we try a different body position or a different way of speaking or something that will make the dogs feel more comfortable. They can also say, you and this dog aren't a good mix. We're going to pair up with another dog for the day today. And they're in a position with the appropriate amount of experience and training that I feel like we can do that safely. Does that make sense to everyone? So what's going to happen with the canine kindergarten is in the short term, absolutely nothing. Canine Kindergarten will continue to run exactly as is. It is rebranding to For the Love of Dogs, but honestly, it's such a low priority doing the formal rebranding and changing the name and things. The main thing we've had to do is sort of change bank accounts, insurance, and stuff like that. So we've really focused on those main focuses, put all our resources into those. One day we'll do the signage. One day we'll do the uniforms. It'll all kind of come fairly organically. We're not so worried about that because the whole Canine Kindergarten team are staying on board, apart from Paige, who actually put in her notice 3 months ago before we even entered these conversations. So the way this came about is that Maxine was wrapping up the Canine Kindergarten. We didn't know this, and we were talking to her about potentially providing work experience, and she just sort of said, no, I can't do it, I can't do it. And then once she came to a decision and told the team that she was going to be wrapping up Canine Kindergarten just because she couldn't run it anymore, she's been doing 56 hours a week for 16 years. She called us and said, hey, I think this would be a great match up for me to be able to stay on board and for our For the Love of Dogs organization to have a home facility where we can run these programs out of, have more impact, have 6 people in the program at a time and really be able to provide this training opportunity for more people because there is so much demand for it. So we're pairing up with the Canine Kindergarten team. The facility at the moment is kind of 3 warehouse spaces almost, and the dogs come into the first space. It's quite a big space, so the dogs can kind of be separated as they're coming in and all excited about coming to kindergarten. And then they go right through to sort of the back warehouse. So at the moment, most of the dogs are in one section of the three. So there's a lot of extra space that we can use without disrupting the normal flow of work within the kindy. Um, so to start with, we are not going to change anything at all. We are looking at how we can divide those three spaces without losing any enrollments, essentially, any space for the dogs, and utilize the space that's not being used for our programs in the middle of the day when we don't have dogs coming and going. Um, and then ultimately, we'll fit out the kindergarten to provide a little bit more enrichment opportunities for the dogs. So a little bit more usable outdoor space and things for them. But also some spaces that we can section off. So rather than just being a big open warehouse, have smaller rooms where we can run classroom style activities or open them up and run workshop style activities or like movie nights and things like that. Or have them nice and open for the dogs. So just a fit out that's going to provide a bit more flexibility with the space that we've got at the moment and make sure that that's nice and safe for dogs, people, and where they're going to intersect essentially. I'm doing so much talking. Has anyone got any questions?
Yeah, I do. Just hi, I'm Anna as well.
Hello.
Um,
Nice to meet
my dog Charlie he's a little bit nervous,
you.
and it's more around like with people coming and going and like
Hmm.
groups of people and things like that.
Yeah.
When the programs are on, like you mentioned, like during the day,
Mhm.
so like the main like drop off and pick up times, there won't be like a lot of human traffic at that time.
No, exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So talking to Max about the usual kind of flow. Our
Yeah.
participants will be doing school hours, so it's going to be sort of 9:30 to 3:30.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah.
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 So we're not going to have a lot of humans moving through that reception area. There's also going to be a backup entry area. So if you have a nervous dog, you can just arrange with the canine kindergarten team to use a different entry. And that's
Oh,
just going to be essentially dogs only and lower traffic than the usual entry. The way that we sort of what's really worked for the canine kindy team is having the drop-off area so far from where the other dogs are. So when one dog arrives, the other dogs don't know and they're
yeah.
not barking and excited that their friends arrived. So we want to keep that in the model that we're kind of drawing up, but there is going to be this backup entry and exit that's straight into the doggy end. But with not straight in, there's going to be like a little like reception area, obviously, but yeah, there's going to be two alternatives there. So make sure that we keep that kind of the main priority of the canine kindy team is absolutely not disturbing the dogs.
Yeah.
So they can't, the dogs that will be participating in the programs will be specifically selected by the team with their knowledge of those dogs' behaviors during the day. When they want to have a little rest, they can have a rest in a room with people who are sitting at a desk doing some work.
Yeah.
They can, rest on the lounge in that room rather than with 40 dogs doing zoomies around them.
Yeah.
Uh, so they've got complete control over which dogs participate in the programs and when, and whether that's appropriate for them. And I'm sure they've worked with Charlie for a while and
Yeah.
yeah, know his quirks and his preferences. He's,
Yeah.
I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I was just kind of thinking like showing up and if there's a group of people there, he's probably going to freak out a little bit. But yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
ideal. So yeah.
Yeah. Something that we sort of, going into so many different clinics, you really get a feel for what works and what totally triggers dogs' anxiety. And we've all pretty much everyone that's working has done some fear-free training and understands what those triggers are. And we've seen enough different environments to say, okay, we know how to fit this out in a way that's going to be minimally impactful on the dogs. The main concern I have about this process is the fit out process, the actual building process. And because it is like a nice big space, we're going to stage that. So you know where the reception area is at the moment. We'll move the reception area over to the main warehouse part and go through like a side gate there. and have construction happening in the reception area first, walled off. So we'll have a visual and sound barrier as best we can. There's going to be some sound between the construction area and where the dogs are in that main warehouse part. Initially, what the team are starting to do already, even though fit outs, like we haven't even finalized plans or gone through council or anything like that. So this is like 6 months away, but already they're starting to wear high vis around in the warehouse and make more like thumpy noises and stuff like that, just so that the dogs get a little bit desensitized to those things that might cause them anxiety down the track. But literally, we've got 6 months to prepare for that, and the whole team are like, yeah, we can totally do that. And they've often got classical music on and stuff like that, which is all part of that sort of fear-free, like making sure that the dogs aren't bothered by external noise and stuff. This is the only daycare I've ever been in that the dogs aren't barking nonstop. It's quite an amazing. They're really amazing with how calm they keep them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
they really are, Anna. It's I have a 10-month-old who shrieks with delight when his paws hit
yeah.
the footpath, and he
It's
loves going to kindy, and he manages to they just calm him down. It's great.
yeah.
But yeah,
It's
he's full on, and they're just everything is just so calmed there. It's great.
what sort of dog is he?
He's a mini schnauzer, a
All
black mini
right.
schnauzer. Yeah, I actually met you a couple of years back with my old mini when you diagnosed him with hypothyroidism.
Oh my gosh, what are the chances of that?
I know. I just remembered your surname, and I'm pretty sure.
There you go.
So, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, so because I feel like it's been so long since I saw clients. It's probably been 3 years since I've been
yeah,
consulting.
about
And
that, right?
actually, one of the other dog owners that was there last night was like, "I know you." I looked after her dog too. So yeah, it's very nice to see all these dogs again. Um, yeah, so we kind of, our like one of our biggest priorities is that we can't disrupt the doggy daycare. One of the questions that came up last night that is not a nice one necessarily to ask is if you think your dog is not a good candidate for the program, are you still going to be able to stay enrolled? And my answer is absolutely yes, because the people that are coming through our programs who will be exposed to the doggy daycare environment are people that really want jobs in animal care or veterinary sectors. And we wouldn't be bringing them into an environment unless we knew that they were safe around the dogs. And regardless of the dog's temperament, they need to be able to keep themselves safe if they're going out into the wide world with dogs in the community, dogs who are anxious, dogs who are sick, dogs who are painful, all of those triggers that dogs might have. We need for our participants to be safe with those dogs. So we need a spectrum of different personality dogs who are triggered by different things in the training environment, essentially. And your dog wouldn't be exposed to, there's no way they're going to go into a yoga workshop if they're going to be triggered by bunches of people. But as we do work experience with our participants and they integrate into the doggy daycare facility, doing some of the jobs around the doggy daycare, then that's for your dog, that's similar to the Canine Kindy team just bringing on a new staff member, essentially. And those same proportions that they would always take and have always taken would apply in that situation. Does that answer dog involvement questions?
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Excellent. Um, this really is the end of what I wanted to talk at you about. But there are a few things that could really help us get rolling faster, basically. Keeping your dogs enrolled at Canine Kindy, I think works for everybody, basically. And particularly if you've got dogs that you think would really benefit from the program or would really enjoy the program. So dogs that maybe like a little bit of quiet time after they've done a bit of zooming around with the other dogs, are really good candidates for some of our kind of quieter programs where people are really just doing a lot of kind of book learning. And those that really enjoy the company of people as well as dogs. Definitely love to have them part of the program. Everybody will be asked whether they consent to their dog being part of the program, and you can always ask questions before your dog's going to be thrown into groups, as I said. We could use as much help as we can get to actually get the programs running. So the fit out is going to be expensive for a charity. We're reliant at the moment on my veterinary business supporting setting everything up essentially. Any donations would be absolutely hugely welcome, or any potential partnerships. So certain companies have expressed an interest in supporting participants or dogs that otherwise wouldn't be able to come to daycare, and just kind of sponsoring them for either an event or a program, or for the dogs to be enrolled in daycare. So if you know any organizations that might be interested in partnering with us, or if you know any people with disability who are interested in enrolling in the programs, we're also interested in talking to them. But we are probably at capacity participant wise right at this moment. As soon as we get the programs up and running, we'll reopen the books to get people on board. If you're ever interested in volunteering, we will be running intermittent events, as I said, so things like movie nights. But if you're like a fitness trainer or something like that and interested in running a class for people with disabilities, we can talk to you about what that involves: music, art, anything else that you're interested in delivering. We're very interested in talking to you about. And yes, connecting us to collaborators, essentially anyone within the animal care sector, veterinary sector, disability sector, other organisations doing similar things. We don't want to double up. This is, to my knowledge, there's no programs like this worldwide. But if you do hear of anyone doing similar things, we're really interested to work with them to provide sort of sections of the program and stuff. If you want to just sign up for information, you can scan the QR code or just enter the website details on the bottom. Yesterday, last night's one of our disability participants, we got to this point and she's like, Anna, can we share dogs now? And then we had this Zoom room of 40 people holding their dogs up like this. It was very cute. Are you also all at doggy daycare at the moment?
I was going to say I would, but he's at kindy. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's at kindy doing Zoomies, no doubt.
Yes. Perfect. That's exactly where they should be during the day.
Mine's here, but he's asleep. So yeah, I'll leave him. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions at all? No. You can always, like, if you think of anything down the track, just send it through to the website. Brooke and Trish are both on the end of the emails, and if there's anything that, particularly sort of charity governance wise, that's a me question. But participant wise and stuff, we can send you heaps of information about programs if you know anybody that's interested in being involved. And yeah, just get in contact.
One of the questions we did have last night was about your bookings and the kind of system in which that you guys previously would purchase day sessions and all that kind of stuff. If we want to touch on that subject, that should all stay the same initially.
Oh,
yeah.
Nothing's changing. Yeah. So we're keeping all of the pricing structures the same, including the discounts for buying multiple sessions at once. The only reason why the kindy have been like dwindling that out is just because we changed bank accounts. So if you paid for everything in advance, then we'd have to do a lot of maths, which is not any of our strong suit. So we'll essentially from Monday we'll be on new bank account, and you can just buy 10 packs if that's what you're used to doing. The receipts, the invoices will be coming from For the Love of Dogs Academy rather than from Canine Kindy. It's just a formality, but Maxine is still the head of the kindy, the lead advocate for the dog's needs, and we'll be working really closely with her to make sure that everybody's needs are being met as we kind of integrate the two programs, the people and the dogs together. It's a big priority as a animal people. That's how it's going to be.
Thanks, Anna. Just a quick question about Max's role. So she's staying on, right?
She is, yeah.
On the days off, who would be, I guess, the second in charge?
That's a good question. Demi is probably the most qualified as far as like where their kind of role specification sits. It depends a little bit in what department though. So for example, if your question is around like a billing problem or something like that, it's probably going to be us. If your question is around like something that happened at daycare that you're concerned about a certain behavior, that's definitely going to be one of the senior trainers, so Demi or Rachel. If your question is around grooming and Max isn't there, it's probably going to be the Kayla question.
Okay.
It depends a little bit where. So Kayla will be 2IC in grooming.
Mhm.
Rachel will probably be 2IC in terms of client care. And then Demi's going to be your behavioural expert.
Got it. So it
Yeah.
sounds like the heads are still staying as is. There's no real fresh faces to the default team currently. No.
No, not at the moment. So Paige handed in a notice at the beginning of the year, and she's finished up, but
Uh-huh.
she's the only one that's moving on. So essentially, we've just hired the whole Canine Kindy team to start working with us.
Okay.
We're all really engaged in the program and very confident that we can work together to make sure that this is a great thing for some of the dogs that are appropriate for it, and a really
Okay.
great people that we're working with.
All right.
So yeah, everybody, all from your dog's perspective, they won't be seeing any new faces.
Mhm.
With Paige leaving, we're short a groomer. And Kayla and Max can pick up that slack as long as we get somebody else working in the daycare floor.
Got it.
So we will be bringing on someone probably in the next month or so.
Mhm.
But what that looks like, we're not sure. We will be bringing in someone as a junior member of staff who can be trained up and learn from the more senior members of staff. We've got participants coming out our ears who are volunteering for the role. But we want to make sure we've got our systems. So we're really just familiarizing ourselves with the Canine Kindy systems, and we certainly don't want to chuck anyone into an environment that wouldn't be ideal for them. And we don't want to challenge the dogs if they're not ready for somebody with, it has to be the right candidate, essentially.
Got it. Okay.
But
All right, great. And with the building works that would be coming up, is that those notifications going to go out via a certain channel of comms? Like, what are we expecting there? Because usually,
yeah,
in the past, it's just that, because obviously we're taking our dogs in at least once a week. We just get a heads up notice on the form there. Is that the same sort of thing?
yeah.
How we would track the events coming up?
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested actually in what format works best for everyone to be notified of things, like whether you want just a text message or whether just a notice board with or the whole team are going to know what's going on and when. So you can just ask questions as you come in. You can put signs up. But Max is running the show. So we're not actually going to be involved in the operation side of things and notification side of things at all. So everything's going to be running exactly the same as it has been. And if you're happy with that, we won't change it.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
Cool.
that's fine then.
Okay. Email? I just feel like we all get so many emails.
Yeah, look, I'm happy
Notice
with whatever. It's just some extra comms, probably an email or text. That's probably the easiest I find. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's particularly if there's anything time sensitive or anything that's happening in a hurry. We'll definitely send out a notification that doesn't rely on you coming in next Friday kind of thing. There's nothing, I don't know if you've ever done anything with council, but nothing's going to happen fast. The fit out is going to be at least 3 months before the first thing happens. Because it's in a flood zone, it all has to go through DA. And at that time, like once we've actually got our plans approved and DA approved and things, we'll be talking to everybody and saying, okay, this is the time frame, this is how it's going to change, this is what to expect, this is what we've been desensitizing your dogs to as far as like what they're going to be exposed to. If we feel like any dogs aren't coping well with it, we might try and alter days that we're doing like loud work or soft work. We're going to work around the dog's needs. But Max is going to inform that whole process. And team. Yeah. And Max is 38 hours a week, so she's still full time.
Okay. All right, great.
She was 56 hours a week. She's not allowed to do that anymore. Charity says no.
Yeah. No, that's all good. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Cool. I remember your schnauzer now, Peter.
He's not with me anymore, unfortunately. He got a lymphoma and passed away. But yeah, he was the one that was hiding under the chair because he was Yeah.
So
So unwell.
yeah, sweetie. Well, I'm so glad we were able to help him. All right. Any questions? Just let us know. This is everybody has to be comfortable with this. It's such a weird concept, and your questions are probably questions that other people are thinking anyway. So please do send them through. And hopefully we can get to, in the next sort of 6 months or so, get a really nice, inspiring, innovative program that really benefits a lot of people and dogs, humming in the kindy. All right.
Thank you,
I'll
Anna.
leave you,
Appreciate it.
let you get back to your days. Have some lunch.
Thanks so much, Anna.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
guys. Yeah.
See ya.